Hey guys, so I'm back with another video and today I have a massive book haul for you. I've been collecting these books since around February, I think is when I last did a book haul. And so I have them stacked on the floor right by me, like they're almost as tall as my chair that I'm sitting in. And my cat's in the room with me and he freaking was trying to pull one of the books out from the middle of the stack and almost killed himself. So he's trying to eat everything, so I have to play with him with his like worm toy while I'm filming, so I'm sorry if this is a bit distracting. So I recently did an unhaul video, which I will link up in here. I can never figure out if I'm pointing to the right spot. And my voice is suddenly disappearing all of a sudden. But, so I have a giant book haul. I recently did an unhaul, so I'm like, oh, I feel like I justified already having bought these books. I have had a pretty rough semester, kind of. I don't really like one of my classes, and as for April, I've been in a pretty bad headspace. So the best way to combat that is spending money on books that I should be using to spend somewhere else. But yeah, I have like a shit ton of books here. Quite a few of them are graphic novels also, and I've read at least one of these books already. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So these first 4 books I picked up at Half Price Books at one point. I'm signed up for the rewards club or whatever, so I get emailed when they do coupons, and so I had a coupon for this day and I was like, might as well use it. And then I was only going in to buy 1 book and then I ended up buying 4. But out of the 4 of these, I've actually already read one of these and I just wanted to own it. So yeah. So first book I have is Crank by Ellen Hopkins. I've actually already read this book. I read it in high school, I want to say. And I've actually read quite a few of her works, and I want to buy my own editions of them because I did really enjoy them. And all of her, most of her novels, I don't want to say all of them because I haven't read all of them, but particularly her YA novels are written in verse, which is very weird because I'm not a big fan of like poetry and stuff, but I really enjoyed the verse. Like, it didn't take away from the story. Like, I was still able to picture everything and feel like I was reading like an actual prose narrative. This is the first book in her really well-known trilogy, what got her started off, Crank. We follow our main character, Christina, who gets addicted to crank, which I believe is a slang term for cocaine. I think it's cocaine. It's like cocaine or meth, one of the two. And her dealing with that, the 3 books follow her within her different journeys in life, and like, you know, realizing she has a problem, going to rehab, and trying to stay clean. Next, I picked up Blood Rose Rebellion by Rosalind Evans. This was published last year, I think. I hadn't even heard anything about it. So this is a YA low fantasy. We follow our main character, Anna, who is part of the British High Society, who are part of this secret club called the Illumineers, I think? Illuminates. I don't know why, but I just keep thinking the Illuminati. And she's been bred for this particular position within this society. They have magic and they perform simple spells and whatnot. So she breaks some kind of spell or something, so her family ships her off to their native country of Hungary. And so she's living with relatives, and then she realizes a lot of people are holding secrets and really like crazy crap, and she has powers that she didn't think she had, and there's some cute boy, and I'm interested to see where this goes. It's really, the cover and like the spine are really what like intrigued me about this book. Next, I have You Bring the Distance Near by Matali Perkins, and I, again, like the cover is what really pulled me in, and then reading the synopsis. This is a multi-generational novel of I think it's 3 generations of women from this family that immigrated from India to the United States. And so I think we follow like the grandma when she first came, the mother, and then 2 of the daughters or something like that, and how they're dealing with adjusting to living in the US, like, and like, you know, the youngest generation was born in the US and like, I guess trying to connect to the culture. I haven't heard much about this, but I recently did see, oh, what's his name? I'm really terrified. I'm gonna say his name wrong. But the guy over at Books Are, I think his name's Sajid. I'm really sorry. I don't know how to say it, but I really love him. But he is in charge of the channel Books Are My Social Life, which I love him. He is so hilarious. If you're not subscribed to them, please go subscribe to him. I'll leave his channel linked up here because he's hilarious and I love hearing his opinions on anything. And he reads more than just YA, because I know a lot of people have been saying they're tired of booktube reading mainly YA. He reads a wide variety of a lot of things, and he's hilarious. But anyways, he recently just talked about this book. He read it and he loved it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have that book and I really want to read it. And lastly, I have Return to Arenthe, which is book 1 in the Elves of Arenthe series by Kelly Raid. I hadn't heard anything about this book. The cover is pretty faded. You can tell it's been like sitting in the sun in like somebody's room or car or something. But I kind of like it. It's got a sword to get the fantasy feel for it. And the other thing that really caught my eye as I was like looking at it is this is a self-published book. Like, it's not even like published through a generic publishing house. So that was something else that really wanted me to pick it up, is I was like, oh, it's self-published. And funny enough, somebody got this for like their birthday because it's like signed by the family member. This is a YA fantasy novel. I believe it's YA. It doesn't really say. I'm pretty sure it's YA. But we follow our main character, Emily, who has just kind of accepted her life as it is until her best friend's brother and sister somehow arrive in town, and they kind of turn everything upside down. And it says something on the back about when their friendship includes confronting wizards who harbor dark secrets and dancing with an elf prince, Emily discovers there are some things still worth living for. It's fantasy, there's wizards, and there's an elf, like a handsome elf prince. Count me in. These next 3 books I picked up, you probably saw these in my 24-hour readathon vlog. I went to Barnes & Noble with my roommate because she needed to get some kids' books for a field lesson for her degree plan, because she's early childhood education. And so I was like, ooh, yeah, I want to go. And I'm gonna start from now on, like, if I haul a book in like a vlog or something, like, I'm not gonna put it in my book hauls because now I see it. Already I've seen it. But we have Volume 1 of Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan, and let me find the other people. Cliff Chang, Matt Wilson, and Jared K. Fletcher. I've already talked about this. I read this during the 24-hour readathon. This is the first one in a new graphic novel. It's 80s centered. A lot of people like to compare it to Stranger Things. We follow our 4 main characters who are paper girls, like they deliver the newspaper in the morning. And basically something kind of like The Rapture has just happened with a lot of sci-fi elements in it. I absolutely love this. I believe I gave it like 5 or 4 stars, and it's so good. And I definitely want to pick up the next couple of issues. Like, just look at this artwork. And I love the color palette for this. It's beautiful. Next, I picked up Wizard for Hire by Obert Sky. This is a middle grade fantasy. This just kind of caught my eye, like randomly, like I was over in the middle grade section, because I like middle grade and I really want to read more middle grade than I actually do, because currently all I've really read, like not counting what I read in middle school, like as of right now, like all I've really read is Riordan? I've been saying his name wrong my entire life, and I don't know if I can ever correct myself. But all I've really read is his novels, and I love them, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a huge Rick Riordan fan. Like, holy crap. But I also want to expand and read some more middle grade. Also, if you have some middle grade recommendations, like, please let me know down below, because I need more. Like, I have Nevermore and I have Arusha and The End of Time both on my Amazon wishlist, because I'm waiting for the right time to buy them, because I've heard amazing things and, you know, I really want to read them. But I randomly picked this one up because, like, the cover is really fun, and who doesn't want to read a middle grade fantasy about wizards? So yeah, I picked this up, and this was actually a new release. Like, this just came out like in January of 2018, and I didn't even realize it. But we follow our main character, Ozzy, whose parents are kind of kidnapped. I believe there's some type of researchers, and he has to enlist the help of, like, the local wizard, who's like this crazy guy, to help him, like, bring his parents back. And it sounds like so much fun. And last from this pile, I have The Demon King by Cinda Williams-Chima. This is the first book in the Seven Realms series. I've heard Reagan over at Peru's Project talk about this so much when I first started following her. It's one of her favorite series. Cinda Williams-Chima is one of her favorite authors, and I know she has a spin-off series that follows like the events after this one happens. And I've actually heard a lot of like great things about this series, and I've seen these books in the library for like ever. It's a YA fantasy, don't really know much besides that, but it's supposed to be epic, and I'm super excited to get into this because I don't know, I just feel like this is one of those staples and I haven't read it yet and I really need to. Next I have 2 Amazon books. I have Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire. I know that Michaela is sitting there cheering because I told her I finally bought this. And she's been like really pushing me to read this. She loves this series. I think there's gonna be more books. I know there's 3 out right now, but I think there's gonna be more in this novella series, and they're really tiny, and I've been hearing amazing things about this. I've also heard there is asexual representation, I believe, in this first book, and there's a lot of other different representations throughout all of the books. So I'm super excited to get into this. Everybody says they love it, and I really want to read the 3rd book because somebody told me the 3rd book is a fat mermaid, and mermaids are my fave. And next I have Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in the Grisha trilogy? Is that what it's called? Oh, Shadow and Bone trilogy, but everybody calls it the Grisha trilogy. So in the Grishaverse. Anyways, if you watched my unhaul video, you literally just saw me unhaul this, and that's because I had the original cover that I didn't like, but they have these new gorgeous paperback editions, and it was $4 on Amazon. Thank you, Michaela, for telling me that. So I bought the new one, and I'm gonna read it eventually. I have no idea what this is about. Next, I had a really shitty day at one point, and I just decided I was gonna go to Barnes & Noble and buy some books. I went with specific books in mind to buy, and I was going to buy Children of Blood and Bone, Wicked Deep, and maybe Poet X was my original intention. Well, first off, the Barnes & Noble here is a piece of shit because they didn't have the Wicked Deep or Children of Blood and Bone, and I was like willing to pay like the retail price for it. Like, that's saying something because normally I buy stuff off of Amazon, and then I have it. And then I decided I didn't want to pay like $18 for Poet X, even though I really want it because it's a novel in verse and it just sounds amazing. So yeah, anyways, I still aggressively bought 5 other books, so here we go. First, I have Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I've heard a little bit about this. More is coming out now, but what really wanted me to get this to read this was May over at May Reads. She was reading it in one of her reading vlogs, and it sounds very interesting, and she really liked it, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a try. This is a YA thriller mystery, murder mystery, I guess. We follow our main protagonist, who is at this elite boarding school place, who a couple years later, I'm not sure how long it was, the head of the academy, his wife and daughter were murdered, and all that was left was a note signed Truly Devious. And our main character decides she specifically went to this school to solve the closed case, this cold case. So super interesting. I've heard it's really good. It's supposed to be a trilogy, and I really like this cover. Like, I like the dark blue with the orange. Next, I have White Sands Volume 1 by Brandon Sanderson, Rick Howson, and Julius Gopez. This is another series within Sanderson's Cosmere, which, if you don't know what that is, a lot of Brandon Sanderson's novels take place within this same galaxy, I want to say is the right term I should be using. Each different series takes place like on a different planet within this universe, and they're supposed to be, once you've actually read more, like I've only read the Mistborn novels, like all 6 of them. Those are the only ones I've read. I own a lot of the other ones, I just need to get around to reading them. And I know Shelby from Read and Find Out is, I think she's basically caught up, except Volume 2 of White Sands just recently came out, so I think that's the only one she needs to read, and then she's completely caught up. And she has been rereading some of the books, and she's like, it's really cool, like going back and being able to see some of the crossovers of things like you don't notice the first time you're reading through because you're trying to get a sense for the characters and the world and like what's going on. But this takes place on another planet. This is actually a graphic novel, which I think is really cool that one of the Cosmere stories is a graphic novel. And I really don't know much about this other than I believe their magic system deals with sand and like sand powers. But it seems pretty cool, and I'm super excited to delve into this. Next, I have The Edge of Everything by Jeff Giles. This is really popular around the time it came out. Yeah, this came out last year. If it sounds familiar, it's because Booksplosion read it for one of their months, and they were like really hyping it up. I really enjoyed this cover. I also really like that. Is that upside down? No, that's upside down. It says so cool. This was also on bargain price, which is why the only reason I bought it was like $5 for this hardcover. Next, I have Doctor Who, The Only Good Dalek, and The Dalek Project. This, I've mentioned before, I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, and it's a graphic novel. Like, look. So I'm super excited to get this. This was also on bargain price, so I decided to pick it up. Why not? I like to add to my Doctor Who collection. Okay, so the last book I have for this pile is Dawn of Spies by Andrew Lane. This is a historical spy novel with, like, I don't know if it would be sci-fi or fantasy, I haven't read it yet, aspects, and it sounds so cool, and you've got historical fiction and spies, and you count my ass in. So this, funny enough, I didn't realize it when I first read the back when I picked it up to buy it, but now, like, rereading the back, like, it, like, struck a chord with me that this sounds like it has a bit to do with Robinson Crusoe, which is, like, a really well-known classic. I haven't read it. I've heard people talk about it, but literally our main character's name is Robinson Crusoe, and he escapes from an, like, Caribbean island, and that's part of what Robinson Crusoe in the, like, classic does. He spends like 28 years on a castaway island and, like, comes back to the real world. I'm really interested to see if this is a retelling of Robinson Crusoe. I don't know why I just forgot that. I haven't read Robinson Crusoe, but I think I might before I read this to see if I can find the parallels in it, because it sounds really interesting. Basically, we follow our main character, Robinson Crusoe, who is 17 and not however old he is in the classic. His friend, Friday, who recently escaped this Caribbean island, and they find themselves in 1600s London. And they come across, they're recruited by Daniel Defoe to work as agents for this special part of the British government to help save the crown, and they're supposed to rescue somebody, and then they find out there's a secret society that's wanting to change everything. So then after I bought all those books at Barnes & Noble, I was super pissed because there were books I really wanted, so I went on Amazon and bought them for a little cheaper. So I spent way too much money in one day. But of course, the first book I picked up is Blood and Bone by Todi Adeyemi. I've been hearing amazing things about this, and I'm super excited to get to it. This is a fantasy set with West African influences. Sounds really cool, and I'm super excited to read it because it's fantasy and we've got West African influences in it, so it sounds like it's definitely going to be something I really haven't seen before, which, as much as I love fantasy, a lot of the stuff I have been reading is kind of the same thing going on, and it kind of gets tiring after a while. But you know, that comes with also reading older fantasies, where now we're actually getting fresh, new perspectives with people of color representation, different sexuality representations in them, and so I'm super excited to see where this story goes and to see all of the other amazing fantasy novels that are going to be coming out, you know, this year, next year, years and years in the future, because we need more representation. Like, we can't all be white and straight. Next, I have The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk. I hadn't heard anything about this book. The only reason I heard something about it was Rhiannon over at Crescent Moon Reads got an arc of it through her work, I believe, and was reading it and talking about it. And the one thing that really caught my eye about this, well, I mean, besides this, like, stunning cover, like, let's be real, is there is panic attack representation in here, and that's never something I've really read in a book, and especially since I do suffer from panic attacks, and I would love to see how this is portrayed. Rhiannon said she thought it was portrayed very well in her case, so I want to read this. This is a YA contemporary. This is about a group of 3 teenagers that kind of find themselves through music and find each other through that, but then there's tragedy and dealing with different things, and it sounds very heartbreaking. Next, I picked up The 100 Lives of Lizzie Lovett by Chelsea Sidoti. I hadn't heard much about this. I heard something about it when it came out, and that was about it. This was like $3 on Amazon, which is the only reason I bought it, besides like the fact that I wanted to read it. And I kind of like this cover. Like, I like yellow and I like I like the flower petals. In this book we follow our main character, Hawthorne, and this girl in her town, Lizzie Lovett, ends up going missing, and everybody's just saying it's a stunt for attention. But Hawthorne really involves herself in Lizzie's life and stuff like this. Like, she works where Lizzie used to work, and she starts to uncover more stuff about Lizzie's life that makes it harder and harder for her to believe the rumors that are circulating about her. And so I think she tries to solve the missing case or something like that. Sounds interesting. And I just really like at the bottom it says, told in a unique voice with both hilarious and heart-wrenching, Hawthorne's quest to learn the truth about Lizzie may be exactly what she needs to find her own. So I'm super excited to read this. Sounds very interesting. And the last thing I got in that Amazon haul was Volume 7 of Saga by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. Holy crap! I love this series. I'm currently rereading this right now. Well, I say I'm rereading it, but like I've only read the first issue. But this will be like my third read through because I just love the series. Can't really say anything obviously because like it's the 7th installment. But for those of you who don't know and have been living under a rock, Saga is a sci-fi graphic novel series. Basically think like Romeo and Juliet in space. Like, it's so good. I love it. You should read it. I also picked up The Adoration of Jenna Fox by Mary E. Pearson. This is also a reread. I read this in middle school, and I didn't realize it's a series, but it is a series. But I read the first book, and I really enjoyed it. This one deals with like sci-fi aspects. Wow, there's the hick. Aspects. We follow our main character, Jenna Fox, who was in a very horrible car crash with her friends, and she was the only one to survive. I don't really want to give away too much because I feel like it's best going into this book without knowing anything. Like, I really didn't know anything when I picked this up. Next, I have Canary Club by Sherry D. Dicklin. This I actually won in a giveaway that Aurora at Unicorn Reads was hosting. I won it on Twitter, and so this one is set during Prohibition era, and so we've also got the boy from the wrong side of the tracks and the daughter of a very wealthy gangster, and Romeo and Juliet I'm going to assume kind of ensues. This is the first book in a series actually, so I'm interested to read this and see how I feel about it and see if I want to continue on with the series. It's got a cool premise. It is set during Prohibition, which is the 20s-esque. And I really enjoy the 20s. And then lastly, at the very beginning of April, I got to go to Fan Expo Dallas, which basically is the Dallas stop for Comic-Con. I went with my sister. It was her birthday present, and we had a lot of fun. I dressed up all 3 days. I didn't get her dress up until Sunday, but it was a lot of fun. We went to some cool panels. There was a lot of cool people, like, selling a lot of cool things. There was amazing artwork. Holy crap, people are so talented, and it makes me so mad because I can't draw stick figures. But also, since it is a pop culture comic convention, there were a lot of people selling comics and graphic novels and like t-shirts and all that crap. So I picked up 2 graphic novels that were half price. The first graphic novel I picked up was Chew. This is by John Layman and Rob Gilroy. The only reason I picked this up is because Cass over at Cats and Camera talks about this series all the freaking time. She loves it, and so I was talking about it, and I was gonna buy it on Amazon, but as I was looking through this like boxes of graphic novels, I found several of the other issues for this, and then I was like, I wonder if they have the first one, and I did find the first one, so I bought it because it was only $5. This is about our main character. I don't even know his name. I'm going off of what I've learned from all of Cass's videos, but our main character is like a detective, and he has this like special power that if he eats something, he can like taste what happened to it. So he starts working like in the homicide division, I think, and so he starts eating pieces of people to find out who killed them. It's also got an interesting art style that I'm kind of into. And the final graphic novel I picked up is Fade Out. This is Act 1 by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I feel like I've seen this on somebody else's channel, but I can't think of who it was, like a long time ago. It's set in like the 1940s in Hollywood, and I think it follows like this murder of this like Hollywood starlet. Look at like some of this like art print, like holy cow. Like it just looks so cool. And so I'm super excited to get into this one. Anyways, that is it for my book haul. That's a lot of freaking books right there. I needed to haul these because they've been sitting on my nightstand over there and they're like about to fall over, so they needed to be taken care of. Let me know down below if you have read any of these books, what you thought of them, which ones I should like put at the top of my like priority reads list. I would love to know. Also, don't forget to leave me some middle grade like fantasy sci-fi recommendations down below, because I love to know. I'm always on the hunt for great middle grade. That's gonna be it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. Until then, I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye!